Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Channel Futures webcast. Diversify your channel business by offering China Cloud Solutions, sponsored by Tencent Cloud. If you have any technical difficulties during today's session, please press the help widget on your player console to receive assistance in solving common issues. If at any time you're having audio difficulties or issues with advancing of the slides, simply hit your F5 key to refresh your webcast console. To submit your question, simply type it into the question window on your screen and then press the submit button. Today's web seminar is being recorded and will be available on demand for 12 months starting tomorrow, and you will receive an email when it is ready. Let's meet today's speakers. Howard Cohen, contributing editor at Channel Futures, and James Diaz, Senior Channel Business Development Manager at Tencent Cloud. Howard is a 35-year-plus executive veteran of the information technology industry who today he writes for and about the IT channel. James oversees the Partner Ecosystem Program for Tencent Cloud, driving awareness of the Tencent Cloud platform and forming strategic partnerships and alliances to help foster cross-border business opportunities to mutual success. And with that, the floor is all yours, Howard and James.
Okay, thank you, Magali. This is Howard M. Cohen, and my slides are being changed for me. Okay, I am sure, let me try that again. I am sure of one thing, and that is that anybody who is watching this presentation, either here today with us live or in the future on video on demand, you all have one thing in common, one common goal. And that goal is to increase profit for your company. Profit is the driver for all of our businesses, all of our companies. The good news that I'm going to bring you today is that there's only really two ways in which you can increase profit. Only two ways. And they are not using squirrely light bulbs and regular old round light bulbs. They really are, number one, reducing costs. So we use LED lights to reduce costs. We do other things to reduce costs in our business. Number two is to increase revenue. Reduce costs and increase revenue. Those are really the only two components of profit. Do either one of those, profit increases. More good news. There's only two ways to increase revenue. One of them is to sell more to your existing customers. Now, obviously, these two young ladies clearly know each other. So she's selling more lemonade to an existing customer. The other way, obviously, is to create new customers. Now, I'm not suggesting we build them from scratch like Jordy is doing here, but we certainly do go out and create new customers. The whole universe consists of existing customers and customers who aren't our customers yet. To create a new customer, we earn the business. We do what we always do. We go out marketing, prospecting, greeting. We come to understand what our customer's looking for from us. We recommend the best possible solution, one that we know we can deliver well. Then we close, well, maybe we resolve some objections, if there are any, but we then close the deal. Basically what we're doing is we're selling. And that's the way you create new customers. You go out, you find them, and you get them. Now, some of you may be working in smaller markets. Some of you may be working in the NFL markets or the NBA markets. God bless you. Lots of competition, but lots of market. In the smaller venues, smaller cities, fewer people, fewer businesses, fewer customers, a much smaller market, and it becomes all too possible to saturate, to actually pretty much have every available customer in your geography. That's a challenge that many have faced and many have responded to. So what do you do when your market saturates? You expand into new markets. Those in small towns start to open up in the next town and the next town. And so you find some of them right nearby, but there are more and they're bigger. And I'm here to tell you about a bigger one today. This is a market in which, if you think big, this is the market for you. Matter of fact, I want you to think global. There is no reason, with the tools we have today, there's no reason you can't go global. You can grow your business by going global. If you want to expand your services portfolio and provide services you never provided before. If you want to serve large multinational clients, many multinational clients have locations in a vast selection of cities, maybe one in yours or two or more. So if you have some of those or you want to start to break into them, here's an opportunity. This market is 4 times larger than the U.S. market. And you'll hear more about that shortly. Here's your opportunity to work with the leader in that market and enjoy all the guidance and the resources you need to break into that market, to be successful in that market, and to satisfy clients and increase your profits by doing so in that new market. And by doing so, you can leapfrog your competition who weren't wise enough to show up here today for this session. Of course, you know by now that I'm talking about China. And with us today is a representative from Tencent Cloud that Magali told you about earlier. So I'd like to hand it over now to James Gia. James?
Hey, thank you, Howard. Hello, everybody. Like Howard said, we hope to give you guys a great knowledge session about what Tencent Cloud is and how we can help you guys expand your market in one of the largest market in the world. So really, we want to let you guys know that, who Tencent is, what we do, and why it's compelling for companies like yourselves to take advantage of what's currently out there right now. So to start off, I want to make sure you guys have a good picture of the potential market, right? So China, there's definitely a lot of opportunities as well as challenges. China has a population of 1.4 billion, and it's rapidly, overtaking, as one of the world's dominant marketplaces in the world. And it's the second largest and actually fastest growing consumer market in the world. And actually, because of China's unique, timing in this world stage, it's actually one of the most connected countries in the world, where a lot of people have leapfrogged the development of other countries, and everybody has gone into the internet space. However, in this large market that everyone's trying to tap into, there are a lot of challenges, right? Whether that's from a cultural perspective, a business perspective, and especially in the cloud infrastructure space, there's a lot of local regulatory challenges, networking challenges, and we will go into all of these today and show you guys how we can help. So to start off, as you guys know, there's a couple of these major cloud providers globally. But today I really want to highlight that it's really hard to compete with a local grown provider such as ours. As you can see in this, graph, there's really a limited amount of regions that global providers are operating in because of several challenges. One is to operate local cloud infrastructure inside of China, you need to work and partner with a local vendor. And this is quite challenging. China is a very massive and large, geographical region, and a lot of times the more rural areas are much harder to, get into by a lot of these international players. However, a lot of the population also lives there as well. So really, there's an ideal way to localize in markets such as China and Asia. That's drastically different from a market such as the U.S. First of all is the scale, right? In order to reach this 1.4 billion population, you do need to have a certain scale of reach inside the market. You also need capabilities that are really catered towards the local market. And because of kind of the cultural and geographical differences, a lot of these technologies have developed in divergent paths. And you also need what we call operational finesse, which is understanding how the local market works, understanding how to troubleshoot and get the required support structure within the local market. And that's quite challenging for a lot of international companies sometimes. So before we go into Tencent Cloud, I want to give you guys a good picture of who Tencent is. Tencent, many of you may or may not know who Tencent is. We're relatively a little bit more quiet on the international stage, but we're definitely not quiet in terms of activity. Tencent is actually one of the largest companies in the world now, with over a $500 billion US market cap. And we were founded in 1998, headquartered in Shenzhen, China. And within a short 20 years, we've become one of the largest companies in the world, leading in the social space, the gaming space, and many others. And you'll come to see that we basically envelop the day-to-day lives of a lot of Chinese people. A quick background into Tencent's organization structure, and to give you guys a picture of kind of how Tencent works. So Tencent is split up into 6 different business units, and each one kind of covers a specific space. The one that Tencent Cloud is part of is what we call the Cloud and Smart Industries Group. And what this group does is it basically consolidates our company's B2B expertise underpinned by our cloud infrastructure. As you can see, there's a lot of smart industry solutions in here as well, such as healthcare, automobile, and all of this is underpinned by a large infrastructure offering called, by Tencent Cloud. And really, some of this expertise of operating large-scale infrastructure comes with operating some of our largest applications prior to the advent of public cloud. You move one column left, we have a group called WeChat Group or Weixin Group. And to give everybody kind of an understanding of the significance of WeChat, it has become basically the default communication tool inside of China. Everybody that basically it lives in China uses WeChat to communicate with each other. And now with the advent of WeChat Pay as well, everybody pays with WeChat Pay. A story I like to tell is, every time I go back to China, it's actually very hard to get around with cash or credit card because the entire ecosystem there has evolved into a digital world where digital payments is the norm now. You go buy anything from a store, they expect you to have a QR code on your phone that's linked to your WeChat Pay account. Another group that's within Tencent is called IAG, which is the Interactive Entertainment Group, and this encompasses all of Tencent's entertainment-related groups. And really, it's what we call the gaming division. And as many of you guys might not know, Tencent is actually the largest gaming company in the world. This is through a combination of owning our own publishing and development studios, as well as investing into a lot of these global gaming companies overseas. And to operate these large-scale games, you need a robust infrastructure, which is where Tencent Cloud comes in. Another kind of a core tenet of Tencent is PCG, which is a platform and content group. And this is where all the content lies. We are also the strategic partners of a lot of these global IPs. And in order for them to broadcast inside of China, they rely on their relationship with PCG to license the IP. And Tencent Video and all of these, which have global equivalents such as Netflix, are all part of this group. And finally, we have TEG and CDG, which are TEG is our infrastructure support. So we basically procure infrastructure from TEG, and they support a lot of our R&D initiatives, and CDG, which is our corporate development group. And to get an idea of kind of why these are leading products, if you see in every category of the social ecosystem, Tencent has a leading application. Like I mentioned, WeChat and WeChat Pay. We're also covering QQ Music, which is the largest music streaming platform, Tencent News, which is the largest news site, and these all require support from a large infrastructure provider like ourselves. We also have a very diverse global investment portfolio. We are not just operating within China, but overseas. And we've invested heavily into a lot of these companies that many of you may or may not know that Tencent is part investment stakeholders in. And finally, we also partner with a lot of the top brands around the world. And we support these brands through our local know-how inside of China. I really want to paint the picture that Tencent is an integral part of kind of everyday life inside of China, and we understand the local ecosystem very well. And that leads up to kind of our corporate strategy. Our corporate strategy is about connectivity, right? If you look at our major applications, gaming, messaging, social networks, these are all about connecting people together. And we provide that platform to basically foster a lot of new businesses within China. And the three focuses that connectivity is underpinned by is by our artificial intelligence, cloud, and big data. So a little bit introduction into Tencent Cloud. Tencent Cloud is one of the world-leading cloud providers. And you may have not heard of Tencent Cloud as much as the others, but we are rapidly growing. We're the fastest growing cloud provider of the top 5 in the world right now. We don't only have infrastructure in China, but we also have infrastructure globally, which I'll go into in a little bit. And we're already servicing some of the largest global brands today. In terms of our Tencent Cloud portfolio, it's really not unlike all the other large public clouds out there. You have your standard infrastructure as service, which covers the compute, network, and storage. But we also have a lot of managed and platform services that cover video, messaging, and even higher level services that service the WeChat. As you see in the top left corner, that we have a solution called Mini Program. And for many of you, mini programs may not mean much, but in China, this paradigm has transformed the way companies do business. What a mini program is basically a web app that's embedded into WeChat. And since everybody is already leveraging WeChat as a communication tool, this kind of lowers the barrier of entry for any company to introduce their own application to their end customer. What this means is basically within the WeChat app, you can scan a QR code and you launch a mini program. And that mini program can be tied into all of your backend systems and basically serve as an entry point into your company's business. One example I like to use here is, when you go to a restaurant inside of China, a lot of places, it's all self-service now. They have a QR code on your table. You open up your WeChat, you scan the QR code, and out pops a web app with the store's menu on it. And this is all tied into with the APIs of their backend systems, their point of sale system. And you can basically order directly from your phone with very little interaction with anybody, right? And so this is the different paradigms that are evolving inside of China, and people need to understand this and adopt this to really target a local environment there. Yeah. On top of that, we also have industry-focused solutions such as in retail, healthcare, transportation, education, and manufacturing. And these leverage Tencent's knowledge in the local market and our developments in these specific areas to help enhance the digitalization of these industries for our customers. If you look at our global presence, we today operate many availability zones and regions inside of China. But we also have regions outside of China. And this is really to service a lot of our Chinese companies going overseas, as well as helping global companies adopt another solution that is more seamlessly integrated into China. Because we're operating globally, we actually just have a single platform for inside and outside of China, whereas many of the global providers require kind of a second platform to be used inside of China. We also have a very extensive China coverage. If you look at inside of China, most of the providers provide only in the kind of eastern border, seafront border, Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou. But there's also a large, massive population in the central China, in Chengdu and Chongqing. And so we have full coverage of China where all the population center lies. And we have a lot more availability zones relative to a global provider operating inside of China. From a connectivity perspective, Tencent also operates a large global backbone. If you look at the type of companies that we service, such as gaming, They require often low latency to communicate with other regions around the world to allow players to play with other players in different regions. So we spend a lot of time to invest in the infrastructure globally, and of course within China. And this is kind of the main point where Tencent is very strong in network connectivity. If you look at it, if everybody needs to communicate with each other through applications such as WeChat, you need a strong network capability to facilitate that. And so within China, there's also many unique aspects of the China local ISP ecosystem. What that means is the internet providers there in China don't play well with each other. And what this means is if you need to connect into different regions, you need to be working with all three of the major government-owned internet service providers. And you also need to work with them on a regional level. And this is quite tricky because each regional office of the internet service provider kind of operates like their own entity. So in order to have a holistic network connection, it requires a lot of investment into working with the local market and understanding how it works and connecting with all of these local offices. Finally, we also have these, like I mentioned before, industry-focused solutions. And what this means is, as I've highlighted, Tencent is transforming how business is being done inside of China. And in each segment of these different industries, there's been different ways that companies are doing business. A lot of it's actually underpinned by the mini program that I was referencing earlier. A lot of you go to a hospital, a lot of the hospitals are now leveraging the mini program platform to serve as a way to manage customers and have give customers an easy way to access the resources of the hospital. And not just that, in every industry as well, we're transforming that through Tencent's technologies. And again, it's underpinned by the cloud infrastructure that we've built out to service these demands. And finally, entering China, right? This is a large challenge and a huge challenge for a lot of international companies, and this is what we specialize in. We help international companies, one, obviously understand the ecosystem there, but we also help them from a legal, not legal, but a consultative perspective to help them legally operate inside of China. What that means is that there's a lot of requirements such as ICP filings and that require a company to register with the local governments inside China to operate correctly. And we can advise and help customers through this process. We also have a suite of infrastructure services that help facilitate cross-border business. Starting from our content delivery network, we have one of the largest CDNs in the world inside of China, as well as our networking solutions to help a lot of the companies connect their current existing infrastructure outside of China with their infrastructure inside of China. And finally, we also are fully certified, right? And this is a large question a lot of customers have is, how do I ensure that my infrastructure inside of China is operating within all the correct confines of the legal environment there? And this is why Tencent is very aggressive in making sure that we are certified not just inside of China, but globally. Things such as GDPR, PCI, right? All of these are things that Tencent is able to provide to their customers and make sure we're certified to the international standards so companies can operate without fear. So now really comes into kind of what's in it for companies out there that are interested in working with us, right? We have a partner ecosystem program that is really focused on helping companies enter this ecosystem and provide mutual benefits to partners that are interested in developing a market inside of China. Our ecosystem is really defined to help customers, one, migrate to the cloud inside of China and truly localize there. And we really want to offer a portfolio, right? We have a large portfolio of these cloud services, and to help our partners develop a business there to serve their end customers with a comprehensive portfolio. And we enhance this by making sure that a lot of the local capabilities that are there in China is understood by our partners so that they can become a consultative guide to their end customers into doing business inside of China. And really, we have a couple of main programs here, which is how do you become a partner? And we separate our partner program into two kind of buckets, which is channel partners and technology partners. And in terms of channel partners, we're really right now we're still under development for a lot of programs, but our reseller referral program is available. And what do these entail, right? So in a resale program, we're trying to help customers sell our solution to their end customers, and we're quite flexible at this stage. What this means is that we don't have to lock you into tiers of commit spends. We're making sure we're flexible so that end customers can really adopt our solutions, and we can cater and customize how we engage with our partners to come up with a solid business plan to grow your business. And the other one is the referral program. And the referral program, similarly, it helps you expand your portfolio without having to deal with a lot of the contracting with end customers. And what this means is that we will deal with all of the contracting and negotiate with end customers and give you a commission at the end as part of the ongoing program. And besides this, we also will support from a marketing perspective as well. So what are the benefits of partnering with us, right? Like I said, to join the ecosystem. But it's really to enable you to help your end customers with cross-border business. And what this means is that you may have pre-existing and pent-up demand from your customers that you aren't addressing. And we really want to become a partner to walk with you hand in hand. And I think this is a great timing for this, right? At Tencent Cloud, we are rapidly growing in the international stage, and we have a lot of these capabilities. However, our reach globally in terms of touch points is still relatively limited at this stage, which enables a lot of opportunities for our partners to really grow that space. And there's really a lot of these technologies that I did not necessarily go into today, but are quite compelling for a lot of customers to adopt to do business correctly in the local environment in China. And we want to give our expertise, right? A lot of us have been dealing with how businesses do business in China. And we want to help our partners understand this and become our, go-to partners in these in local markets to help service customers in a way that is compelling and help their end customers tell a story to why to expand your business inside of China. And finally, this is just a brief list of some of our partners, but we're definitely looking to expand more. So if there's any interest, please feel free to reach out. And that wraps up the webinar from the Tencent Cloud side. So I guess
great, James.
Is it?
Yeah. Hi, James. Hi, it's Howard. We do have some questions from the audience. Before I ask those questions, however, I have one that I need to ask myself. If I'm an MSP manager or a reseller manager sitting out there in the audience today, or a telecom manager or an agent manager, if I'm managing a business in this environment, in this ecosystem, you've given us a really good look at Tencent. But now I need to take a look at me. I really need to sit down with my team and evaluate whether or not this is a great opportunity for my company, whether my company would benefit from it, whether we have what it takes to enter into it. What are some of the questions you would ask if you were sitting with that group? About yourself, about your own company, and what you need to have to take best advantage of a partnership with Tencent?
Sure. That's a great question, Howard. So, a lot of companies out there are servicing their pre-existing end customers, and they, how do you become a trusted partner, not just for the markets that you're in, but for a global market, right? Like we said, China is one of the fastest growing and largest markets out there. And ask yourself, right, is it compelling to offer your solutions or your expertise to one of the largest markets out there? And some questions you've been asking yourself is, do you want to own that relationship with the customer and become a holistic provider? Or do you want to wait for another player to come along and kind of advise them on a market that you might be missing out on? And so the reason why you want to work with us to address that is, do you want to work with basically the expert in this market, right? guaranteed if you have end users inside of China, they're already tapped into the Tencent ecosystem one way or another. And so who better is to rely on to kind of advise you on how to serve your end customers? So really, the question you should be asking is, is this something that you want to be part of and guide your end customers in a way that's works for the local environment? That I think that's really what you need to address.
Okay, let me dive deeper into that question just a little bit. For me to participate, typically when I enter into a reseller or a partner program of any kind, there are prerequisites. There's training required. I may face regulatory requirements with a cross-border opportunity that I have to have some kind of legal entity already established in China. My people, do I have to have my salespeople trained, my consultants, my engineers? And if so, where does that training come from?
Sure. So in terms of becoming a reseller for Tencent Cloud, there's actually not really any prerequisites as a reseller or a referral partner. Really, it is if your end customer has requirements inside of China, you do need to have the proper requirements to run your end customer needs to have the proper requirements inside of China. So what that means is that our partners' end customers must have a registered entity and ICP license inside of China. These are things we can help with, but there is some prerequisites. But other than that, as a reseller, if you're trying to resell Tencent Cloud in regions outside of China, there's really no prerequisites there. It's when you do want to do business inside of China, there is a set of prerequisites that is required by the end customers. But typically, if the end customer is already doing business in China, these should be addressed. And if not, these are something that we can engage with to help with as well. Now, in terms of the training, I think this goes to two parts. The first part is kind of understanding the cloud side, which I think a lot of providers there are, especially globally, is quite familiar with, right? And so in terms of understanding the cloud technologies, these are probably the expertise that our partners are actually already have. Now, I think the main part is the training for how to engage in Tencent Cloud and what the local environment is like. And these are things that we will definitely engage in training sessions with the end customers to help educate them, how to qualify the opportunities that require China or in China infrastructure. So I don't know. And on top of that, we do have a online program as well to offer to the partners to go through. But I think the main one is the qualification of, is this customer qualified to do business in China? And that's something we can definitely help our partners understand.
Okay. Can we go into more depth? I mean, I mentioned the partner program. That's probably the most important thing in terms of making the decision to move ahead. Can you highlight some more of the benefits to becoming a technology partner with Tencent?
Sure. As a technology partner, one of the benefits is that we do have a team that helps validate if your technology solution works on Tencent Cloud, right? I think as a technology partner, you want to offer your technology to potential customers out of China. So there's a couple of routes there, which is one, we will help validate that your solution works on Tencent Cloud. And secondly, you will become a preferred partner for the technology gaps, right? As a cloud provider, we try to service all the requirements from an infrastructure perspective to our end customers. However, that doesn't necessarily fill in every single requirement for the end customers. We often have gaps in the technologies that we need that needs to be serviced by a technology partner. So as a technology partner, you'll basically become a option for a lot of these customers that are looking to go into China to leverage a solution that you guys offer.
Okay.
And on top of that, go ahead.
No, go ahead, continue, please.
Yeah, and on top of that, I think there's a lot of marketing and potential marketing opportunities as well, right? As Tencent Cloud is becoming more and more visible on the global stage, we are looking towards having a set of technology partners that we can basically work hand in hand with and become early adopters, so that when we do, tune up that visibility in the global stage, these technology partners will become strategic partners of Tencent.
Great. Okay, so now we're becoming partners with Tencent, and we're selling Tencent solutions. One of the questions that just came in that I think I want to push to the top, really, and this is, by the way, a very common concern amongst most MSPs, and that is, does this become a zero-sum game? That is, am I simply shifting business that I'm doing right now with Microsoft or Amazon or whomever, and then just moving it to Tencent, or is this incremental? Are there ways that doing this will help me build more business on top of what I'm doing already?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we do have many cases where we are working with customers that are working with both, AWS, Microsoft, as well as us. And like I said, our real sweet spot currently is helping customers deal with infrastructure inside of China. Understandably, AWS and Azure both have infrastructure inside of China, but oftentimes their infrastructure does not, service the actual requirements. So it is not a zero-sum game. The reason why is actually a lot of times when customers adopt a local cloud environment like ours inside of China, this helps them grow their business in ways that they weren't really familiar with before. Right, there are certain solutions that they will adopt, certain technologies that will adopt to address a local market that then they will be able to export actually overseas. So, yes, we are, having to take away certain businesses within mainland China, but oftentimes these companies are embedded in AWS or Azure outside, and we typically see kind of growth in both ends. We actually work hand in hand with some of these cloud partners to address, right? You rather have an opportunity where you service the global requirements more competently by leveraging, let's say, AWS or Azure overseas, even globally, and then a Tencent Cloud China inside of China, and service the global requirements more comprehensively than actually trying to do both and losing the business to another provider that can do both.
Great. Okay, everybody's holding their questions for the end. Another question that just came in, somebody's asking, and I think this is a really good question because I think it may be a good step on the path. That is, how many data centers does Tencent have currently here in the U.S.?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we actually currently have two full cloud regions, one in US West and US East, and each cloud region has a couple of availability zones. And this will be expanding, as our business grows. But currently, we have, two regions with, a couple AZs each. So in terms of data centers, that's probably, 5, 6 different data centers. We also have a region in Canada. So that's not necessarily US, but it is kind of in North America.
Excellent. Okay.
And actually, to add to that, we actually do partner with a local cloud, local kind of a bare metal provider here for certain regions that we don't cover natively. We actually have partners out here that can that we put Tencent Cloud on and can service some of the regions, such as in Dallas and whatnot.
Okay. Since we do have availability here in the U.S., that kind of forms a first step along the path for us to start doing business with Tencent here. One of the questions that raises is we have really two kinds of relationships with Azure or AWS and others. One is, I think you referred to it as a referral program, where we simply recommend to a customer that they use this service. When they sign up for it, we're the partner of record or whatever nomenclature you use, but we receive a commission back from Amazon or from Microsoft. That's not nearly as popular as one would think it is. The other one I think is more popular, especially for those who want to own the customer relationship. And that's very, very important to us. And that is that we simply buy and resell cloud services from a vendor like yourself to our customers. Are those both available to members of your partner program?
Yes, definitely. No, we definitely understand the maintaining the customer relationship, and we're definitely proponents of that, right? Our goal here is to enable our partners to continue to own that relationship, and for us to be an extension or a partner in that endeavor. So yes, both programs are available, and we are definitely supportive of having our partners own that end relationship. We just are interested in providing infrastructure, whether that's to the reseller or to the end customers. We can facilitate either way.
Okay, that's interesting. I came into this session not really even thinking about your domestic presence. That's great. Another question about what's available from you. Somebody's asking about the as-a-service services, unified communications as a service, for example. Are you operating those yourself, or do you have partners that provide those through you?
Yeah, so we do have a set of what we call these communication services. Some of them are actually being kind of globalized today. Some are the one that's it's called Tencent VooV, which is our online meeting collaboration software. And so this is especially because of the recent situation. We've developed these things that it used to be called Tencent Meeting. We've renamed it to Tencent VooV. So it is a kind of full-fledged conferencing solution that actually has worked especially well for cross-border meetings. So yes, we definitely do have that. And we don't have any partners we're providing this through today. But we're happy to have discussions on this as well. Today, we are providing these solutions directly through the Tencent Cloud team, and we also have a team that is operating the services or product itself. But we are kind of the window point to customers that want to access these services as well.
Okay. One of the services that I'm being asked about is bare metal. Is IBM your bare metal partner, or is that something else that you do yourself?
Yes, correct. So for a lot of our what we call partner regions, we are leveraging IBM software, as well as others, but they are our main one. And so this is for regions that we may not necessarily cover, but the customer wants us to kind of manage all of those different areas. So we do partner with IBM. Also, to add to that note, we also have a very large bare metal cloud offering inside of China. We're actually the largest bare metal provider inside of China, but that's limited to just China today.
Okay. While there's another question that I had that I think is really important for us to leave with, I want to make sure that everybody has some action items stored up, and that is, how does a potential partner reach out to Tencent, and what does the onboarding process look like to become a partner with Tencent?
Yeah, sure. So actually, it's quite straightforward. Just reach out to us, and we can start you on that journey. I think at this stage, we want our partners at this stage to really work with us hand in hand. We will have a person, work with you guys to be onboarded, to get to get trained, and we don't really have any prereqs right now. So we're really evaluating each case kind of case by case, and really willing to kind of help educate the partners no matter what stage they're at. So really, it's quite simple. Just reach out to us. We should we have some contact information, and then we can get you started on that as soon as possible.
So I just put up the your last slide. Is this an email address that potential partners can reach out to?
Correct. Yes,
get
they
started?
can reach out to that email address. Yes.
Yeah, I hope that answers that question adequately. Just had another one. Okay. Somebody wants you to compare Tencent to the other large providers in China. He names one of them, but I think it's better as a broader question.
Yeah, I
How
mean,
would you
we
say
definitely
Tencent
get
stacks
this.
up?
Yeah, we definitely get this question a lot. And, I think the first thing to highlight is our competitor is, I would say at this stage, does hold a larger market share relative to us in the market. But they did have a couple years head start. So our cloud has been the faster growing one, from a year-on-year point of view. Now, why are we better? I think a lot of that is really is underpinned by networking. And what that means is that the nature of our native applications that Tencent operates, such as WeChat and the video games, that requires pretty a very adequate networking setup. And so that's, I think, one advantage of working with Tencent Cloud is that we have a very robust networking capability inside of China. And that is quite important because everybody in China is basically connected to the internet some way or another. And so with that core networking capabilities, I think that is one large advantage we have. And secondly, like I said about the ecosystem, a lot of these ecosystem services, such as WeChat, they all are using our underlying backbone network. So what that means is that if you are using Tencent Cloud, there are a lot of these what we call API calls to, for example, WeChat Pay, different aspects of our ecosystem. That all goes through our internal network, the one that is much faster. And there was also some cost savings that are realized by leveraging our internal network. So I would say a big advantage is our networking capabilities. And again, that's underpinned by our expertise in the gaming and instant messaging and video space.
Excellent.
And then
right.
second, I do want to add another point to that is that, because we are, rapidly growing, our team out here is really focused on servicing these customers on a more customized and close perspective, right? And so more feedback we've gotten is that, we do engage with the customers in a much closer conversation, whether that's through partnerships or end customer discussions. So our support system is, quite good. And we also support, for example, 24/7 Slack chats and whatnot as a supporting mechanism. So, that helps alleviate some of the communication barriers with a Chinese cloud provider like ourselves.
Okay. My last question, and it's a simple one. Is there any benefit to, and is it possible for those of us in the audience today to sign up for WeChat and use it? Yeah,
absolutely. WeChat is available in every app store, and anyone is happy to download and use it and try it. There's no restrictions there.
Okay, excellent. With that, I have no more questions, and I don't see any more coming from the audience. We're ending a little bit early today, but again, the information that's on the screen, the email address that's on the screen right now, is the best one to reach out to get immediate connect with Tencent to discuss your concerns. And of course, this is an opportunity to show your customer and to sell your customer something they hadn't thought of, which is often the best way to get their attention. Clearly, I think James has given us a great idea about the comparative size and scope of Tencent as a business compared to AWS and Azure and others that we sell today. If you have, and even if you don't have, I think we revealed that today, even if you don't yet have multinational clients, I think it's worth it to pop an email to uscloudpartners@tencent.com and ask whatever further questions you have that we haven't answered today. With that, James, any last suggestions or comments?
No, I think it's good from my side. Look forward to working with all our potential partners, and feel free to reach out for any questions. Right, it doesn't have to be regarding the cloud, but any guidance on anything China related, we're happy to help.
Terrific. Thank you all for joining us today. We'll see you next time.